Today on The Young and the Restless, Summer asks Victor for a favor, Daniel makes an appeal to Kyle, and Faith disappears. On Crimson Light's patio, Daniel argues with Summer about how to clear their mom. Summer say the EMT driver Carson, he could say what happened. Daniel reminds her he was part of the plot. If she convinced him to do it, he could extort her for the rest of her life. The whole plan isn't realistic. Summer argues they need to find Carson. Stark paid him so clearly, he can be bought. She'll give him a big bag of money and he'll say what she wants him to say. At Newman Enterprises, Victor is on the phone trying to find out what judge is in charge of today's arraignments when Nikki comes in. He tells his wife he wants their son out of that jail cell. Nikki assures him Michael will get Nicholas out as soon as possible. She wants to focus on work. Victor wants to ask her about Nate Hastings. How is he doing? Nikki says he's made good decisions for Newman. I understand you've taken him under your wing. At the GCAC bar, Victoria tells Nate that she's full of energy. It must have been due to their private meeting. Nate felt very invigorated after their visit to the private suite as well. Victoria gets a text and learns that Nick got arrested. She calls for the check. At Sharon's place, Faith is appalled that her father's in jail while Cameron remains free. She never would have agreed to leave town if she'd known her mother would be alone. Chance comes to the door and Faith bellows, "How could you arrest my father?" Chance explains what happened and assures that the truth has a way of coming out in court. Faith hollers that her dad shouldn't be in jail, he should be there with her mom. Chance is there to protect them. Sharon promises Faith they'll all be together again soon, but she needs to go catch her flight. Chance has an unmarked officer to take her to the airport. Sharon asks her to promise to text her from her seat before she takes off. Faith says, "I will." They hug. Chance walks Faith out. At the jail, Nick fumes to Michael that Kirsten is lying. He's obviously planning something, so Michael needs to get him out of there now. Michael says he's not being arraigned until later today, and judging by how wound up he is, this might be the best place for him right now. Michael reminds Nick that he was involved with Cameron back in the day. He's a disgusting pig, but he's smart and has Nick all figured out. He needs to calm down while they wait for his arraignment, and in the meantime, Chance is looking out for Sharon. They'll check on her too. Nick asks Michael to make sure Cameron also stays away from Faith. He's afraid Kirsten is planning something, and once it's put into action, there will be no stopping it. At Sharon's place, she appreciates Chance coming by and wonders if he should be out there looking for Cameron. Chance says Victor's men are on it and he promised Nick he'd stay there. He gets her laughing and she says he's a positive influence. She thanks him for being so patient with Faith and talks about how agonizing it was to send her away. Sharon wanted this house to be a haven for Faith. Chance wanted something similar for Dominic at his place, but it didn't really work out for him. Sharon muses, "It's tough when you're trying to keep your kids safe." They hear a noise and Chance opens the door to Michael. 3 environmentally friendly fashion projects shaking up the industry. At Crimson Lights, Daniel informs Summer that they are not paying someone to lie to the authorities. Summer argues this is how Mom would approach things. Daniel asks how that's working out for her. Summer tells her brother she doesn't need his help. On Crimson Light's patio, Summer takes a video call from Phyllis, who goes over why she's not letting her daughter know where she's hiding out. Summer shares her plan to find the EMT and Phyllis tells her she's not doing that. If anyone finds him, it will be her. "I'm going to take care of this on my own now, okay?" She urges Summer to fix her relationship with Kyle, but Summer doesn't know if it's even possible. Phyllis has so much to make up for. She can't have her marriage on her conscience. Summer argues, but Phyllis says it's non-negotiable. Summer asks what she'll do now. Phyllis isn't sure, but she'll come up with something. She urges her again to go to her husband. Summer disconnects. Victoria and Nate arrive at Newman, where she asks her parents for the details of Nick's arrest. She guesses Cameron is behind this and complains about Nick taking matters into his own hands. Nikki fumes that this is classic Cameron. Victoria sniffs about how aggressive Nick can be when he's protecting those he loves. Victor points out she appreciated it in the past. Victoria has to be practical about the bad publicity and declares that until this conflict is resolved and he clears his name, she's going to ask Nick to take a leave of absence. After Nate leaves the office, Victor reminds Victoria that Nick protected her from Ashlyn Locke and informs her this isn't her call to make. She asks what her mother thinks. Nikki agrees with Victor. A leave of absence would raise more questions. Victor grunts that he can take personal time off, that's it. At Sharon's place, Michael tells Sharon that Nick is anxious to have the arraignment over and done with. She remembers Michael telling her the last time to tell Nick and the police and not to try and handle the maniac Cameron on her own. Michael says she did everything right this time. Sharon can't have that kind of cruelty and violence in her life again, and will make damn sure Faith never experiences anything like that. Chance and Michael agree that Nick is right and Cameron will try something now that he has Nick out of the way. Sharon is glad that Faith is far from there. At the GTAC, Daniel takes a video call from Phyllis, who asks him to protect his sister before she goes too far. At Sharon's place, she tells Chance and Michael that if Cameron is planning something, she needs to be ready. She wishes Chance could find a reason to arrest him. Michael offers to get a restraining order against him. He'll head into town and set it in motion. Sharon worries it will be another sleepless night. Chance assures her she'll be there. Michael takes a call from Summer, who wants to meet with him about her mother. She's taken aback when he says he has time before her father's arraignment. At the club, Daniel listens as Phyllis dials him in on the scumbag Carson, who stole bodies from the morgue. She tells him he has to make sure that Summer doesn't mess with the guy. Please. Daniel asks, "Where are you?" Does Summer know? Phyllis says she doesn't, and he's not going to know either. "I'm going to keep you safe from now on." At Society, Michael tells Summer that her dad ran into some trouble. He's sure he'll tell her when he gets out. It's just a big misunderstanding, really. He asks if she's seen Phyllis. Summer has and thinks she's nearby, but she won't tell her where she is. Michael says that's good. Summer has a plan to bring her home but needs Michael's help to find Carson the EMT. She explains why and Michael says, "No way, no how. You would be committing serious crimes with a wanted man." He lists off the charges and tells her to forget this unworkable scheme. Summer appeals to him as her mother's oldest friend. Michael won't break the law for Phyllis, and isn't encouraging her to do so. Summer becomes distraught about the idea of never seeing her mother again. Michael muses that Carson could legitimately testify and help with Phyllis' case. Summer is hopeful. Michael warns her not to make any moves on her own while he follows up on this angle. "But I don't have the necessary resources for something this delicate. We may have to bring in the big guns." At Newman, Victoria and Nikki discuss allocating Nick's projects, and her mother notices she's agitated. Big plans with Nate? She can't help but wonder if her relationship is influencing her take on Nick's status. If Nicholas were to walk away, would she consider elevating Nate to that position? At Society's bar, Nate updates Audra on Victoria asking Nick to take a leave of absence. Audra feels it's an opportunity he can take advantage of and brings him one step closer to running Newman Enterprises. Nate raises a glass, "Here's to us." They're toasting when Victor walks in. He looks thoughtful. At the Abbott house, Daniel tells Kyle he's worried about Summer, who is desperate to come up with a way to help their mom. She won't listen to him, but may listen to her husband. Can you forgive her just a little bit? Victor watches Nate and Audra leave Society and then joins Michael and Summer. He asks, "What is this all about?" Summer tells her grandfather they need his resources to track down Carson, the EMT, to help her mother's case. Victor observes that they want him to track down a criminal to help another criminal and reminds Michael that he left his employ to help Diane Jenkins against his wishes. Michael says she was innocent, so he did the right thing. Victor wonders why he should lift a finger to help Phyllis, who has caused his granddaughter so much distress. At Sharon's place, Chance distracts Sharon by telling her about old cases he and Ray worked on and gets her laughing. Sharon gets up and checks her phone. Chance asks if something is wrong. Sharon says Faith should have texted by now to let her know she's okay. At Newman, Victoria denies trying to push her brother out of the family business. She preferred he kept his opinions to himself about her personal life, but she loves having him there. However, if he left, she would consider having Nate take over as COO. At the Abbott house, Kyle tells Daniel what Summer did is just too much. Daniel warns Summer is not thinking straight. He's worried she'll do something reckless. Kyle loves her, but expecting him to step in is asking too much. Besides, his wife doesn't give a damn what he thinks anymore. At Society, Summer makes a tearful plea to her grandfather to help her mother come home without a murder charge hanging over her head. She's not over what she did, but after thinking she was gone forever, She just wants her back home. Victor says every fiber of his being is against bringing Phyllis back after all the damage is done, but when she looks at him like that, I'll help you find Carson. At Sharon's place, Chance tells her the flight may have been delayed. She encourages Sharon to call Faith. Sharon gets voicemail and says she promised me she would check in. She wouldn't neglect to do so. Chance tries to call the officer who drove her and gets voicemail. Sharon flips. Oh my God, Chance. Chance tells her to hold on and calls the airline to find out if Faith is on the passenger manifest for the flight that was scheduled to leave half an hour ago. He says, "All right, thank you." Chance tells Sharon the flight took off. Faith wasn't on board. Sharon wails, "No,